R.kelly collapsed in prison on Friday, triggering a medical emergency that forced officials to transport him outside prison walls for treatment. According to his attorney, this wasn't just a health scare, it was an alleged attempt on his life. His lawyer claims the disgraced R and B star was deliberately overdosed by federal prison staff, who allegedly ignored warnings from hospital personnel after Kelly arrived needing urgent care.
On a lot of these platforms, they've been holding me back from really going in and exposing what I really want to expose.
An explosive allegation, a murder plot inside the system. Kelly's defense team dropped a bombshell in court filings. They claim there's an interstate murder plot against Kelly involving both prison officials and the Aryan Brotherhood gang. According to his attorney, the motive is simple but shocking. The federal government, he says, wants to silence Kelly before he exposes alleged misconduct by the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons.
He was then removed against his will by guards from the prison and was not allowed to be treated. And they are saying that basically this could kill him because of the blood clots and the care that they are alleging he is not receiving.
Feds call it fanciful. Prosecutors immediately pushed back, calling these claims fantastic and fanciful. In a formal response filed Tuesday, the federal government dismissed the accusations, saying there's no basis for believing prison officials orchestrated an overdose or a murder plot.
These are people who seek to kill Mr. Kelly rather than allow the corrupt criminal conduct of those who manufactured his convictions be exposed.
The crimes that put Kelly behind bars. R.kelly, now 58, is serving a 30-year sentence alongside a 20-year term, both mostly concurrent, for child sex crimes and racketeering. His convictions came out of Illinois and New York, and he's currently housed at FC East Butner, a federal prison in North Carolina.
Stein, in his declaration, has set forth the reason that was given. The reason is that Mr. Kelly was about to expose some facts that would be extremely inflammatory and damaging to the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice. And because of that, the Bureau of Prisons instructed Michael Glenn Stein to go to Butner and execute R.kelly. And Mr. Stein made clear and gave us extraordinary detail when we spoke to Mr. Stein. We didn't use this until we actually went down and met with Mr. Stein for hours. And he told us in extraordinary detail that this is not the first instance, that this happens all the time, that the Aryan Brotherhood has been directed to commit murders and beatings at the behest of prison officials.
A dying man speaks out. The most eyebrow-raising detail in Kelly's legal filing? A sworn declaration from Michael Glenn Stein, a terminally ill leader of the Aryan Brotherhood. Stein, who's been locked up since 1982, claims prison officials have used gang members for decades to do their dirty work. Facing death from cancer, Stein says he wanted to come clean, telling Kelly directly about an alleged plot to have him killed.
He said that if he is to do this, he is a terminal cancer patient, he's going to die in the near future. That's a fact. And they have said that he will be transferred and he'll get the opportunity to walk away. And Michael Glenn Stein has a history of escaping from the Bureau of Prisons. He escaped previously. That's why he spent so long at the ADX Supermax in Florence. And all of a sudden, he was moved to this relatively low security facility at Butner and put near R.kelly. That's a fact.
Emergency plea for home detention. Kelly's lawyer, Bo B. Brindley, filed an emergency furlough request, asking the court to release Kelly to home detention until the alleged threat passes. According to Brindley, the murder plot was hatched in February 2023 and time is running out. His filing says the situation is of the essence.
That discussions have been had about poison in the food hall, about poison in the commissary. Discussions with Mr. Stein have been had about stabbings. These are the kinds of methods that have been discussed.
A dangerous sequence of events. Brindley's court motion details what happened after Kelly was moved into solitary confinement last week. Prison officials reportedly gave Kelly medicines for sleep and anxiety, then handed him additional drugs with new instructions. Just 2 days later, on June 13th, 2025, things took a terrifying turn.
Let me say it this way. It's not allegedly having evidence. We do have evidence, and one piece of evidence we've already presented in the form of a signed declaration from Keyshawn Mogadamudi, Robert's former cellmate. And what he describes is having been solicited by prosecutors who are offering him a reduced sentence in exchange for stealing Mr. Kelly's privileged attorney-client correspondence.
The collapse. In the early morning hours, Kelly woke up dizzy and faint, seeing black spots in his vision. He tried to stand but collapsed, crawling to the door of his cell before losing consciousness. Staff rushed him to the on-site medical facility, but when they couldn't help him, he was transported by ambulance to Duke University Hospital. According to Kelly's attorney, one of the prison officers said during the ride, "This is going to open a whole new can of worms."
Absolutely. We're going to seek every opportunity to, one, make sure that Robert Kelly doesn't get killed, and number two, to see that he is freed based on what we believe to be and will prove to be a corrupt prosecution, the kind of which President Trump has promised to.
Overdose and denied care. At the hospital, Kelly was allegedly told he had received a life-threatening overdose. He remained hospitalized for 2 days. Brindley's Monday motion stated, "Within 2 days of our initial filing, the Bureau of Prisons administered an amount of medication that significantly exceeded a safe dose and caused Mr. Kelly to overdose, putting his life in jeopardy."
Calling about what they doing to all blacks in America. They violating out of our human rights. R.kelly case too. They violating that man human rights. Larry Hoover. Like, they violating his human rights. He got another
The government pushes back. Prosecutors aren't budging. In their official response, U.S. Attorney Andrew S. Boutros accused Kelly of creating a conspiracy narrative to escape prison time. Boutros wrote, "Kelly is in prison because he is a serial child molester whose abuse of children dates back to President Clinton's first term, decades before he was taken into federal custody."
In the emergency filing, they alleged that R.kelly was giving an additional dose of medication by prison staff. And they're alleging that because of that additional medication that he was instructed to take and that he actually took, he suffered a overdose. So they say that R.kelly woke up allegedly on June 13th and he felt faint. He was dizzy. He started to see black spots. He got up and he fell. He crawled to the door of the cell and he lost consciousness then. At that point, he was placed on a gurney. He was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital because they tried to take him to the hospital inside of or associated with the facility that he's in. But
allegations of gunpoint hospital discharge. Kelly's legal team fired back again on Tuesday, doubling down on their claims. They allege that prison officials not only overdosed Kelly, but then removed him from the hospital at gunpoint, denying him a surgery doctors said was urgently needed to treat blood clots in his lungs. This claim ties back to a previous complaint. Kelly had reportedly asked for medical attention for a swollen leg, but was refused proper care.
He allegedly has been asking for months to get some medical attention to a swollen leg. R.kelly's legal team says that once he was taken to the hospital for this overdose situation, R.kelly brought up the swollen leg, and they allege that doctors there then took a look at the swollen leg and they found blood clots in R.kelly's right leg, allegedly, in his left leg, in his lungs, allegedly. And R.kelly's legal team is saying that R.kelly was then told he should stay 7 days in that hospital for surgery, and then it would be an additional 2 weeks because of whatever care they were going to need to give him. But his legal team alleges that once the prison was contacted, R.kelly was then removed against his will by guards from the prison and was not allowed to be treated. And they are saying that basically this could kill him because of the blood clots and the care that they are alleging he is not receiving.
They don't care if he dies. R.kelly lay motionless on the cold floor of his solitary confinement cell at FCI Butner. Barely conscious, his vision reduced to black spots. Just hours earlier, he'd been given a cocktail of medications by prison officials, pills he was told to take for sleep and anxiety. But something was different this time. His body wasn't responding the way it normally did. He felt faint, dizzy, disoriented. Then, without warning, his legs gave out. He collapsed. Crawling to the door of his cell, he gasped for help before blacking out completely. Moments later, prison staff found him slumped by the door, unresponsive. An immediate decision was made to transport him to the on-site medical unit. But the prison's medical team quickly realized the situation was beyond their control. Kelly was in critical condition. An ambulance was called, and he was rushed to Duke University Hospital. During the ride, Kelly slipped in and out of consciousness, but he was alert enough to overhear one of the prison officers murmur something chilling to a colleague. This is going to open a whole new can of worms. That phrase stuck with him, even as he faded in and out of awareness. He later recounted the moment to his attorney, Bo B. Brindley, who would include it in a court filing that would rock the legal system. When Kelly arrived at the hospital, doctors immediately went to work. Their diagnosis? He'd been given a dangerously high dose of medication, far beyond what would be considered safe for his age, weight, or medical condition. According to his lawyer, the hospital staff warned that his life had been hanging by a thread. Kelly remained hospitalized for 2 days, but what should have been a longer stay for proper treatment took an ominous turn. Brindley later alleged that prison officials forcibly removed Kelly from the hospital before doctors could complete life-saving procedures, including surgery to treat blood clots in his lungs. The medical team had allegedly recommended immediate intervention, but federal prison staff overruled them, putting Kelly back into Bureau of Prisons custody. In Brindley's view, this wasn't medical neglect. It was a calculated move to ensure Kelly never recovered. The sequence of events unfolded just days after Brindley had filed an emergency motion claiming his client's life was in danger. In that motion, Brindley alleged there was a plot involving members of the Aryan Brotherhood and corrupt prison officials to orchestrate Kelly's death by drug overdose. The motive? To stop Kelly from revealing what he knew about internal misconduct at the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons. At the center of Brindley's claims was a sworn statement from Michael Glenn Stein, a high-ranking Aryan Brotherhood member with terminal cancer. Stein, who has been incarcerated since 1982, said he chose to warn Kelly about the plot because he had nothing left to lose. According to Stein, the Bureau of Prisons had used the Aryan Brotherhood for years to carry out covert operations inside prisons. But this time, the target wasn't another inmate caught up in gang politics. It was R.kelly. Stein claimed he was approached by prison authorities and asked to facilitate Kelly's murder. The plan, according to him, was to make it look like an overdose. But as his health declined, Stein chose to blow the whistle. He didn't want to die with this secret. Brindley took that declaration straight to court, filing an emergency motion to move Kelly to home detention until the threat passed. He argued that the plot was active and that Kelly was a dead man walking if the court didn't intervene. The timing, Brindley said, was no coincidence. Just days after the motion was filed, his client collapsed from what the hospital later identified as an overdose. From Brindley's perspective, the overdose wasn't accidental. It was proof of the plot in action. Federal prosecutors quickly responded, calling the allegations absurd. In their official reply, they labeled the claims as fanciful and fantastic, dismissing them as nothing more than a desperate attempt by a guilty man to escape prison. Prosecutor Andrew S. Boutros didn't hold back in his rebuttal. He painted Kelly as a serial predator whose abuse stretched back decades, long before he was placed in federal custody. The government, he argued, had no motive to harm him. Kelly was already serving a near-life sentence for crimes that shocked the nation, but Brindley wasn't deterred by the government's scathing response. He doubled down, filing an additional motion that outlined in graphic detail how his client had nearly died and was then denied critical care. In his reply, Brindley accused the government of showing open contempt for Kelly's life. He claimed federal authorities were not only indifferent to Kelly's suffering, they were complicit in it. According to Brindley, this wasn't about guilt or innocence anymore. It was about survival.